Anyway, I turned down the stove. I had a revelation. Seriously, God told me something else. You're like, what? What is this? Because the reason you can laugh, yeah, I don't care. Superman. You're like, what? What? Superman, what? I don't know what I was just thinking about. I forgot the beginning. I did. I really did. Because I thought about it too much. I They were being funny. Superman. You're like, what do you mean? Anybody who I learned decades ago, probably when I was a kid, 80s. I wasn't a comic book nerd, but we're always interested. In the 80s, there was no TV shows, no cartoons, nothing in the 80s about Superman or nothing like that, or Batman or anybody, or Marvel, Spider. Anyway, but I learned the creators, what's the name, Jerry Schuster, and this and that. I forgot the other guy. Were Jews. The creators of Superman were two Jewish guys, right? And I always thought it was some kind of whatever, the whole coming from space, and it was almost, I thought for a while, like, how would two, that's ain't that blasphemous for Jews to create some kind of savior coming from space? And it just hit me like 5 minutes ago. No, because they were being funny. You're like, what? Yes, what? I don't care. Nobody else on this whole planet knows what I just known, what I was just told. You're like, what? Yes, I had to say Superman. You're like, what? I'm finna explain. The whole thing came to me. They were being funny, sarcastic. You know how some nowadays, oh, who's this nigga? He think he's Superman? Oh, you got an S on your chest? Da 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 da. You're like, no, and what? Okay, think about it. You're like, well, that was the 1930s or whatever. They didn't talk like that back then. Yes they did. If you watch an old white folks movie, Everett G. Robinson, they was on that slang. All of them. They was on that, with the pants all almost up, how they had them dress pants up to their damn neck. But they fought like this. They come on, put them up. They was gangsters, right? They was some real gangsters. Literally the original. That's where we get it from. All us gangsters. The Jewish one, Meyer, what's his name, Meyer, whatever. Yeah, there was Jewish gangsters. All right, so the dudes who created Superman, they might not have been, as far as we know, but just like anybody, they probably they grew up in some tough neighborhood in New York City, right? And the word super, I always thought it meant, we use that word, who you think you is, a Superman, because of the comic book, Superman, because Superman, 80s, 90s, even to this day. Oh, you nigga, you think you some kind of Superman? And you're like, well, okay, what does this have to do with Jews and Jesus Christ? Think about it. To them, the Jews, basically, they're like the Jews who killed Jesus. The ones who, because they're like, what are you, some kind of Superman? What did Jesus say? You don't have to do, I'm the ultimate sacrifice. He's making, you don't have to sacrifice no more. You don't have to do these Jewish traditions. Jesus was a Jew. Jesus was a practicing Jew, right? You don't have to do these sacrifices no more. The lambs and this and that. It's like, basically, yeah, that's why we can eat bacon, shrimp, unclean, this with that. Paul said it. If you bless the food, you can eat it, right? But Paul came along after Jesus with it. But the point is, that's what they're like, nigga, who the hell you think? That's why they killed him, right? That's why Superman wasn't, because I never, it wasn't something I pondered or nothing. It's just but I was for a second when I first found out. And then, growing up in, a Christian, I already immediately thought, why would Jews make something about an alien, who comes and saves everybody? or saves people, not saves everybody. Just he's Superman. He saves. And all this time, it wasn't a big deal or a problem in my head. It's just, you put it, okay, they just sci-fi or whenever. What year did they make Superman? 1930s or whatever. I say it was sarcastic. As people, even their family, because they're billionaires or millionaires, whatever. So 800 million, off. So they're that, and they wouldn't know. That's one of your great they don't know exactly unless you wrote it down. But what you and your homeboy doing there, I'm guessing they, as usual, is like, why would they make a comic book? I don't know the whole thing, but they were being funny. A Superman, yeah, it's basically like they're laughing, because to them, you got to be Jewish. You got to do the sac. You got to do the Jewish traditions. And Christians, you believe in some kind of, just like they still say it. They say spaghetti monster in the sky, or not just Jews, atheists. So they, that this Superman, he's some dude coming from out of nowhere. That Jesus gonna save everybody. You ain't gotta be a Jew. You this and that. That's where it comes from. I didn't think it was. I didn't ponder it, good or bad. I just, as a kid, I wasn't that serious. It just was. It was more trivia. In the 80s, okay, I know, but it's something that you don't say. Because that's lame. You're a nerd. I know we're Superman and the creators. Nobody cares. And then by the 90s, you had the cartoon, the Batman and Superman TV show. They were separate. Then you got Justice League. But, it just occurred to me. Like I said, y'all ain't got to believe me. Y'all can laugh. It's like, because my point is, back then, super was a word. The government used it, the super fortress, B-52 or whatever, super fortress, super. And so my point is, yeah, they talk like us, all of them, meaning I think they did say, who is this guy? But Superman wasn't the comic book. I think that's where they got it from. Hanging around with the type of people I hang. So back then, they were called, who do you think you are? A Superman. Some type of Superman. It wasn't even invented. That's how they invented it. From the streets, hanging around street niggas. Or they were street niggas, the creators. Superman. You think you some kind of Superman. Because super is a word they used back then. Super fortress, super this, a super, super, in welding or whatever. Building, super this, super that. Super been a word. Super has been some kind of, word to, it's not just what this, and so I would think back then they used it as slang, just like we would, super. So anyway, that's all I had to say. Y'all could ponder on the, think, oh, I'm talking nonsense. I don't care. I think that's, because there's no way to prove what I just said. There's really, maybe it is, I don't know, like I said, but I doubt it. There's no way to prove what I said. But I think that's where Superman come from. I never thought of it. I don't know what the hell I was just thinking about. I was, warming up, my stove, and the Superman is, they wouldn't, yeah, and of course they made money off it. They were, two Jews, but they were being funny. And it makes sense. They were, Jews don't believe in Jesus, obviously. And now, if you have to be somebody who knows the Bible and understand and this and that, and have to, well, God has to talk to you like me, so you wouldn't understand why they was, probably to this day they're still mad. So Superman, they're doing what they do. Friday they don't eat, whatever they do to this and that, and the rest of us don't have to do it, because some Superman is saving every believer. Some Superman, because Jesus was a man, the Son of God. He's Son of God, I say half man, but yeah, they don't. The Jew. They obviously didn't like it. They killed him. They hung him on the cross, nailed him to a cross rather, not hung. So that's where Superman come from, in my opinion. But all right, I'm out. 85,000.